Hi, good morning, and thank you for being on the call today. Another episode of Intuitive Insights and Your Question Answered. Today's topic is astrology and psychotronics. My name is Elly Molina. I'm a former educator, an author, psychic, and intuitive consultant. And today on Ask Elly, I'm going to answer some of your submitted questions first, and then we're going to move on to a very important topic for all of us, which is astrology for the future, predictive astrology, and what we can do about it. From there, we're going to move into my favorite topic of all times, which is all about psychic abilities and psychotronics, which I'm going to do a two-part series on and teach you a little bit about that later on at the end towards the middle when we get to it. Okay, so firstly, welcome to everybody on the call today. And I'm going to start with the first question that was submitted by AC out of Georgia. Okay, so hi, Elly. Thanks for taking questions on your show. I've heard about your dream expertise, which leads me to ask about three things: lucid dreams, roller skates, and shock. Recently, I've been having frequent lucid dreams, and I'm wondering, Elly, what's this all about? My husband has been having them too. I don't recall the context, just the experience. And how should I interpret these? All right, let's start. This is a great question, AC. So let's just start with lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is a skill that many people can learn to acquire. Some people have this ability very naturally. It is when we are in the dream state and we know that we're dreaming and yet it feels real. And we know that we're dreaming. And so in the lucid dream, the veil between your subconscious and your conscious is very thin. So this is also a result of work that you may be doing in the psychic realm. And so I'm just thinking to myself, and I'm just kind of thinking on this one, AC, there's a real strong chance that you are doing intuitive work, that you're looking to develop your intuitive skills to really be able to start connecting with intuitive living. And as you start connecting with intuitive living, AC, you're going to find that your dreams will become more lucid. So this is just a really great thing to have. And, be happy that you're lucid dreaming, and be careful not to give it any sort of negative connotation. So congratulations. I'm going to suggest you write them down and start recording them. And if you're interested in learning the way that I do dream interpretation, send me an email and I will get off a copy of my dream interpretation guidebook that is available on Amazon in Kindle format. And I'll send that off to you and anybody else listening if you just drop me an email at elly@ellymolina.com. And you can see how I do dream interpretation, and I explain the different kinds of dreams in there. Okay, her next question is, in my other dreams, I'm wearing roller skates a lot. It's fun, and I'm cruising wherever I go. What do you think about that? So, AC, you are moving forward in your life and you're having fun as you're moving along. So not only are you enjoying what's going on in your life right now at this moment in time, but you're also moving very quickly. And a feeling of youthfulness is created. So you're feeling young, you're feeling energized, you are enjoying the direction that you are taking your life and perhaps your business. Lastly, when I'm going from one state to another, AC is talking about physical states. I find myself move suddenly, like a quick shock or something. And one time I saw a huge flash of white light and knew it was time to come to you with these questions. What's it all about, Elly? Thanks again, and I appreciate you and your show, AC. So this moving from one state to another, AC, there's a really strong likelihood that you were in a more daydreaming state when you went into that. If you're in the state of movement, or you're jumping around, or you're in the space of roller skating in real time, then moving into a sudden state of sitting down will not produce that shock. It's more, the shock is more of you coming out of your daydream state and being snapped back into current 3D, because you were physically vibrating at a much higher frequency. So your body had to make that adjustment. Of course, the white light flashing at you is just electricity, and which brings me to, it's not just electricity, it is electricity, which will bring me to the second part of our call today. And we'll talk a little bit more about this white light energy that you were able to release. So very cool, AC, and thank you for sharing this. And if there's a question that you have, of course, you can always email me at elly@ellymolina.com, and we can talk more about that. Okay. Moving on to question number 2 today is, I'm curious what time frame is the best to pitch a new corporate strategy, and if there is a particular pitch structure that would be best received. I ask as there is a lot of astrology movements and retrogrades going on, perhaps casting some illusions. Any clarity would be much appreciated. Thank you. That's SH out of NY. So this is a very loaded topic, which is going to lead me right into our topic for today, which is astrology. But before I get there, let's just answer this question. Is there a time frame to pitch to corporate strategy? So SH, this is my personal opinion on this. And again, my personal opinion is based on my experience in astrology and in my experience in the psychic realm. And therefore, at this moment in time, I would wait until the Mercury retrograde ends. Mercury retrograde actually begins today. So Mercury retrograde is starting today. And so I would wait until after November 3rd before I would pitch. And then, of course, you want to wait a little bit longer after November 3rd because we have a very important political event happening. And this will be not only a political event in the United States, this will also affect the globe and the rest of the world as they're all watching what happens. And so I would suggest that if you want to pitch, a great day to pitch would be on November 12th when Jupiter conjuncts Pluto. And this is going to be a very fantastical meeting of these two financial planets. And this conjunction occurs only every 13 years. So this is an outstanding day for career success. So anybody listening to this podcast between now and November 12th, and you want to have financial gains in your business, mark that day on your calendar because it's going to be a very supersonic day. And so SH, I'm going to suggest as an astrologer and as a psychic that you hold off and wait until that particular date to do your pitch. Now, the other thing that I would really consider about the particular pitch structure is, and this has nothing to do now with astrology or anything, this is just basic business and consulting, human nature. Of course, do your research for your company that you're working on, and then I would also apply a lot of the psychotronic powers that we are going to be discussing in a few minutes. And so SH, I'm going to just suggest that if you're interested, drop me an email. If you want to schedule a short 30-minute session, do that and say that you got this from the podcast. I'll offer a discount for you. And then we can look at the psychotronic uses for your pitch on a personal note, so that it's just not out here for everyone. Not that we don't want to share, but with everybody else. But this is specifically geared towards you. So, with that being said, does anybody here right now? Because I'd like to welcome all of you who are in the room right now and online. Thank you all for being here. And if anyone here has a question about anything before I start segueing into astrology and psychotronics, now's the time to ask. So I'm going to just give you an opportunity to ask, and you'll need headphones from what I understand. And so if anybody has a question, come on into the room and call in. Be really happy to hear from you. Okay, so we've got, all right, so no questions, just listening. Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to move right into astrology right now and why this is so important for us and psychotronics. So there's a lot of planetary actions happening and a lot of stuff on the internet also. And so I'm going to move back a little bit to one of my all-time favorite quotes by the fabulous astrologer Linda Goodman. And Linda Goodman said, "The stars incline, they do not compel. And we are moved like pawns on a chessboard in the game of life. By using free will, anyone can change his character, control his environment, and the attitudes of those close to them." And I totally agree. And Linda Goodman has been one of my favorite astrologers of all time. And so we look now, and we start looking on the internet, and we go to start reading a lot of things happening. You're going to notice that tremendous amount of predictive astrology has been and is being written right around this time. Astrologers are telling us, check October 2020 is going to be a really big month. And it is going to be a big month. That is true. And so if we look at predictive astrology right now, there are some planets that are going to cause a turmoil, cause an uproar, cause events to happen. And then again, here's the flip side of that is we have control. So we're going to talk about the part of having control after I share what the planetary movements are. So right now we've got Mars in Aries, which is really stoking up the fire and demanding change. So if we start to look at what's going on in the structure of our current system, we've got a lot of archaic systems in place. We've got old structures that are crying to fall apart. And so here's this Aries energy, this Mars and Aries energy, and it is like an annoying insect looking to get our attention. And so Mars will grate at the energy of the larger planets, causing them to take action. So right now we've got Pluto transiting, and Pluto transiting in Capricorn until 2024. So Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth. And especially now in Capricorn, it's looking to make structural changes. It is looking to have old establishments fall apart that don't work any longer. And if we look at what's going on in the world right now, we're going to say, you know what, that's true. These structures are archaic. They need to fall away. But people don't like to change things. It's working, don't break it. Why fix it if it's working? But it's not working. And so it needs to fall apart. And when it falls apart, we get all bent out of shape because we don't like how it falls apart. Think about people in terrible marriages who were unwilling to leave their marriage because they're in fear. And yet, so they wait until some tragic event happens. And then they look and they say, oh my God, how did this happen? Well, the signs were there all along. It needed to have ended, but nobody did anything about it. And that's exactly what we're looking at right now in our infrastructure and in the society structure that we have: outdated hospitals, outdated educational systems, outdated democracy, quote unquote, democratic principles, the way our government is putting, this is my opinion, putting a judge in for their lifetime. How archaic is that? I mean, that was set up in 1700. It is now 2020. So anyway, that's just my opinion. Most astrologers like to use different tools for their predictions, and that's known as predictive astrology. And they look at transits and progressions and where the planets are transiting through the 12 houses. So I make my interpretations based on esoteric astrology, and esoteric astrology is based on the teachings of Alice Bailey. And esoteric astrology is entirely concerned with the forces and energies which affect consciousness and aspects of the human beings and the condition of personality and life. So esoteric astrology is more concerned with the soul than just looking at it from a mathematical point of view and saying, this is the way that it is. There's not a lot of flexibility in the standard interpretation of astrology. However, in esoteric astrology, there's room for so many more variables and it flows. And that's one of the reasons why I like using esoteric astrology. So now, getting back to astrology and what has been predicted for us is a lot of astrologers right now are talking about destruction and despair. And, well, I guess it depends who you follow. But you will see that if you're online, you're going to notice that a lot of astrologers are talking about huge destruction, huge things coming down on us, and these terrible events happening from now until the end of 2021 going into 2022. And while all of this may be happening, we have to remember a few other things. And that is that we are a collective consciousness. And so as we are a collective consciousness, we start to buy into the thoughts of the majority, and we become influenced by the media, as we know. And so we have to start to become very careful right now as to what we want to see happen for ourselves. Do we want to buy into the fact that the earth is going to crapola and that everything is going to get destroyed and that we're going to have some great cosmic event that will take everything out? Do we want to buy into that question? Just ask yourself. Then comes the next question. Do we want to buy into the earth, society ending as we know it through the pandemic, and create and keep using vocabulary such as the new normal or uncertain times, these times of uncertainty? I said in a previous podcast of mine, times have always been uncertain. You can walk to the supermarket and something can happen to you. That's very uncertain. We just assume that everything is always going to be the same until something changes and disrupts our habit. So there is never a time of certainty. That doesn't exist, but it's an illusion that we have. And so now you really want to be careful right now as to how often you start regurgitating these new phrases: times of uncertainty, the new normal, what's to be expected, watching advertisements about plastic face shields now. So you want to be careful where you take this in your own mind. And that is not to say that you're not cautious and careful about your health and everything, but you want to be careful and cautious about how much you're going to buy into mass hysteria. Because on the flip side of all of this, while many, many businesses are closing and many shops are closing and a lot of people are unemployed, we've also got a booming industry happening right now there where people are becoming multimillionaires overnight. It just depends on where you are on the spectrum. So again, you want to be really careful and cautious as to what it is that you're believing, what it is that you're buying into, and what it is that you're speaking and sharing and thinking. And so with this I'm now going to segue into psychotronics and the power of psychotronics. So if anybody has a question right now, please ask, because this is a perfect time to have some discussion, and that's what the live podcasts are all about. So if anybody would like to join this right now, I'm here taking questions and your comments, and I'd love hearing from you. Oh, no questions, no comments. This is like a teacher's dream, okay? If you were in a school setting where the kids would just sit there. Actually, it's not. But anyway, fortunately, our school systems are going to be undergoing a radical change, and I am very happy about that. On a personal note, as a former educator of over 37 years, our systems are so archaic. Now, of course, what we're looking at right now is a transitional system. And so the system that will be birthed out of this pandemic is going to be quite interesting. So it remains to be seen. It's in the process of happening, as so many other areas are. Okay, so today, so one of our callers just said, Elly, as you know, my mother passed away last Tuesday. Yes, and this was I'm so sorry for your loss. And I know that the people listening are also very sorry for your loss. And today begins the Mercury retrograde. I have Pluto in my 8th house transiting. So your question here, was this esoteric? So you and I, Thomas, both know that, yes. And so this was a very esoteric transit. And as I'm not looking at your mom's chart, but we do know that she was ready to depart. And psychically, what I had gotten around your mom's departure was that she was ready to go. But first, she needed to make sure that you were okay. And so once she knew that you were okay, and even though she wasn't conscious of those last few days, I'm not sure if it was days now, but let's say she wasn't quite conscious, she was there, because we are still conscious even if we're not conscious. And she needed to know that you were going to be okay, which was then conveyed to her. And then she was able to leave peacefully and with love all around her. So that was really very, very beautiful. And as far as you're concerned, your personal chart, this is a very important time for you right now, because this now marks a whole new beginning for you on your own chart and a rebirth. So you know that, and we can talk about that later at another time, but this is a new beginning for you. Hey, I'd like to I hope that answered that question. Hey, Donna, this is her first time listening. She's just joining us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy to have you on the call. So we were just talking about astrology right now. And at this moment in time, I'm going to be moving into psychotronic powers. Now, psychotronic powers is just another name for telepathy, telekinesis, only it's a little bit different, because in telepathy, we're passive. And with telekinesis, we are still very skeptical. But if you think about this, what we do know about human beings is that we have special powers. We know this. We know that we have an energy inside of us that is amazing, that defies explanation. Scientists are still working on this. We know that this is the power that manifests itself in fairy tales that people speak of. Genie comes out, or Aladdin rubs the magic lamp and the carpet flies and the fairy godmother waves her wand. And yet we know that we too have this power within us, because we've used it, and we've used it on occasion, but we don't use it all the time. We still doubt it. And when we start to realize how powerful we are, and how much energy is in our body that can command and control events around us, we can change not only our personal lives, we can change the outcome of what we're seeing around us in our physical 3D reality. So now, this is beginning. We have to make a choice. What do you want to see in the outside world? Do you want to see, just as predictive television has been putting into our brains for the last 20 some odd years, do we want to see dystopia? Do we want to see destruction and empty cities and people wearing masks and helmets and goggles and suits? Do we want to see robots running around with us and robotic dogs protecting our home? Or do we want to go into a more utopic world where people are at ease walking down the street with each other, smiling, communicating, being loving towards one another and not frightened? So these are choices that we get to make. And the only person that can make that is the individual first. We choose where we want to be living. We choose where we want to reside in. So now, with that being said, let's take a look at how that can work for us and how psychotronics can work for us to change the circumstances that we are looking at right now. So let's just backtrack a little bit. We know that electricity was always there. It's always existed. It wasn't new. It was always there. But man didn't know what to do with it. He didn't even know how to use it until it was discovered. But it was there. So just think about if you take somebody from a remote jungle who's never seen electricity, it won't work for him because he doesn't know that it's there. He doesn't know what buttons to turn on, doesn't know how to use it. But that doesn't mean that it's not there and that it doesn't exist. And this is what psychotronic power is. It is the power within us that teaches us which buttons to push, which switches to turn on, how to make things happen. And so when we start to use our own personal psychotronic power, we get to have experiences, we get to bring in money, we get to bring in relationships, we can cause painful diseases to vanish, we can acquire a new home, we can also change up a lot of the things that we are seeing outside in our 3D. First, we need to make the decision that we're going to use this. Now, psychotronic power in a nutshell is really taking our focused energy, believing that we have energy, and then being able to use it. So let's just take an example of very, very simple way of using psychotronic power. We're going to actually people call this telepathy, but this is an experiment that I'm going to just ask you to do today. So for those of you listening, what I'd like you to do is to choose someone that you'd like to hear from. And then you will sit quietly and you'll close your eyes. And then you will, with your imagination and your eyes at a 45-degree angle, you are going to see yourself talking to that person today. I don't mean today but right now in your imagination, you will see yourself talking to that person. I want you to get a real clear picture of yourself talking to that person, exchanging the conversation, feeling it real in your body so that even with your eyes closed, if you were to take your hand and gesture it as if you were talking to them, they'd be right there, right next to you. I want you to get a real good feeling of that experience. And then when you've had that experience, you let it go, and then you go about the rest of your day. Now, the interesting part about this is that within the next 24 to 48 hours, you don't have to think about this other person again. You are going to have a telepathic connection to that person. Either it will be direct or it will be indirect, but there will be some sort of contact with that person. The key for you is to remember that you actually sat down and spent the time and the energy to create that situation. So I'm at the end of the show today, and I just want to share one of the things that I happen to really love psychotronic powers and our ability to use them. And oh, Christina shared she did this yesterday. It was so fun. So just think, Christina, yes, this is on a very easy elementary level. Imagine what can be done on the collective conscious level. We can do this for our health. Yes, we can do this for healing a lower back issue. We can do this for our health. We can do this for the planet. Yes. Okay. I would love to have you all back here next Tuesday. I'm going to continue talking about psychotronic powers and how we can use them on a larger level globally and how we can use them personally for us. So please be in touch, and you know where to reach me, Elly at ellymolina.com. Send me an email and look forward to hearing from you. Everybody's thanking. I thank you all for being on the call. Anyone on the call, if you listening to this and you do want a discounted reading, just mention that you heard it. You heard me on Podbean or the podcast, and you will receive a 20% off your next reading. So thank you. And I wish you all a blessed week and look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care. Bye, everybody.